how do we want to start this? First of all, words about books. I'm Nate.
I'm
Hooray!
Ben.
We're talking about Battle Royale. I'm Nate. That's Ben. The movie was better. How's it going, Ben?
It's going well. I,
Okay.
I I don't agree with you that the movie was better,
Are you sure about that?
but I don't agree with you about a lot of things regarding this book. So this is going
It's
to be an
okay to be
interesting
wrong.
episode.
It's okay to be wrong, Ben. You can have bad or wrong opinions. It's fine.
I might actually be wrong on this, but I don't care.
Yeah, you're objectively wrong on this. Yeah. There's an objective truth in this world, and yeah, you're
I'm
wrong.
guessing the rubric is going to be painful for me on this one.
yeah.
This is likely a bad book that I enjoy very much. But I do want to start this one in a particular way with a content warning.
Yeah.
Content warning. Most of them. This is a book about a junior high school class that is taken to an island and forced to kill each other in a sports-like competition.
It's Fortnite, but for keeps. If you
Yeah.
die,
in the video game, you
die
die
in
for
real
real.
life.
It's like the Hunger Games. This came first. That's a whole thing. Though I don't think the Hunger Games lady ever heard of Battle Royale. It's just like, this
It's like
is a
the Hunger
concept
Games,
that's...
but like not as good. Ooh.
Oh,
Ooh.
maybe.
Ooh.
Honestly,
it's like
maybe.
It's like Fortnite, but like not interactive. It's like the
Fortnite-
movie Battle Royale, but like it's a lot longer and a lot more drawn out.
So Fortnite and PUBG and all those, and I guess Call of Duty Warzone now,
No
all
one,
of those games.
no one cares about PUBG anymore, right?
No,
not
they
even a
don't. I
thing.
don't think so. But
Yeah.
Fortnite took the format from PUBG, the Battle Royale
Yeah.
format, and in PUBG
Ben,
it
we've
was
been over
very
this before.
explicitly.
It's the Oreo and the Hydrox. Okay?
I don't
We've
care.
already been over this. PUBG is the Hydrox doing it first, but doing it worse. Okay?
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm trying
You
to tell
should.
you that PUBG.
I'm trying to give historical context. Okay?
I'm trying to tell you that PUBG explicitly was inspired by this book. The guy who made it said so.
Okay. Well.
Therefore, anyone that copied it, whether they know it or not, is also taken from this book.
I
So
mean,
your favorite video game, or your child's
what
favorite
can
video
you
game, is
can
based
you
on
really
this
say?
child murder
You
book.
know, like I don't know if you can really give it that kind of credit. You know, like does it really
absolutely
deserve
can.
that? I don't think you do. You
It's
know?
the same exact rules as PUBG.
Yeah,
as
I'm
Battle
sure.
Royale the
I'm
novel.
sure everyone has you know, kind of had this conversation about who they could beat up in their middle school class or whatever. I don't
That
think
is
it's that
a gross
impressive.
oversimplification of this book. What I want to say, though, in all honesty, the content warning. This is a Japanese book, and B, it was written in the 90s. So in the age of there's a school shooting every day in my country, this may not have aged particularly well. This may be sensitive material for quite a few people. It deals with things like sexual assault, every kind of violence. And of course, it's children killing children. And, you know, if you don't want that, you're really not going to find much value in this episode. Not that any of us want that, but like if you can't handle that, or that would make you very sad, then you probably skip this series. And I wouldn't blame you. You're probably a better person than me. Like, if you don't want to read Battle Royale, I think that's probably the right decision. Can I do the history of the book, or do you want to do something else first?
Oh no, I'm sure we'll just do whatever, Ben. Yeah, lay that history on us.
Okay, because the thing I'm saying is, like, this book was written by Koushun Takami. Koushun Takami was a journalist, I think. He was a newspaper article writer. And he had never written a book, and he has never written a book since. He wrote this novel to enter into a horror novel writing contest, which he lost. But he made it to, like, the final four. And one of the judges of that contest went on the record as saying, Battle Royale is probably the best novel of the bunch, but I don't know if it's the kind of novel we should be writing. And that's like exactly
Censorship.
how I feel about it. But then there's a whole other thing about censorship. So the book didn't win the contest, but it was still published a few years later. It got turned into the movie, which is a Japanese production featuring Takeshi Kitano of
Yeah, sure.
you've seen him. He is Takeshi's Castle, MXC, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. He's a Japanese comedian who also did a bunch of Yakuza movies.
All right.
And when he gets the part of, they changed the role of Sakamochi, the guy who runs the game. And they had Takeshi Kitano, who you have to understand is like a legend in Japanese cinema. He was the sexy gangster for like most of the 80s, early 90s.
Clint Eastwood, except instead of a cowboy, he was a gangster.
But yeah, like he's a badass. Like he's in like all the big Yakuza movies, and
Oh my God.
he was also a comedian, and he was quite funny, and he's known as Beat Takeshi in Japan because that was his comedy name. And he gets on the set for this movie, and it's this movie where he's supposed to play like a psychopath who's killing all these children, and they tell him, just play it like yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's why the performance, the Battle Royale movie is ridiculous, but is
he the Sakamochi of that? I know it's not the same name. Okay, yeah, I remember that was that guy was kind of over the top.
Yeah, but
which
that's
I
because
feel fit in very well with just the over the top violence. So
over the top is the theme of Battle Royale. Battle Royale is pure exploitation. This is the B horror movie of novels. It is the flimsiest premise. There is no lesson to be extracted from it. There is no deeper meaning. Everything I have ever criticized.
There's a deeper meaning there, Ben. It's one that I find incorrect, but we could talk about that towards the when it happens, I guess.
All of the stuff around the game is just nonsense he had to do because otherwise, like, it's not a novel. And in fact, in the novel, there are many jokes about it being a bad novel. He specifically says something like, "Oh man, this is like a bad horror movie," or even worse, like a bad horror novel, knowing that he's in this novel writing competition. Everything I criticize books on this podcast for doing, like, this is that. But for whatever reason, if it were a better book, I wouldn't like it. I like it because it's just this weird lightning in a bottle, horrible, over the top. Just, it's so edgy. It's so edgelordy. It's just so. It's. I'll tell you what it tickles in my brain. It tickles the same part of my brain that makes me want to listen to like Alan Moore talk about magic.
You don't need to have gods talking to you. In fact, if you do have any of that stuff, you're probably insane.
Uh-huh.
Like, I know it's stupid, but I just like people who are just like so falling off their own edge. It just comes around. It just comes back around. They fall straight into orbit and then just circle the Earth again. That's Battle Royale.
Wow. All right.
Oh,
I guess that's a good way of putting it.
Normally you torture me with books.
Yeah.
And now
let's go back to doing that.
I've finally gotten you, and I'm so happy. I've finally gotten you, and I'm so happy. We are talking about Armada by Ernest Cline. Someone changed their vote, and we had to read this classic piece of American horror literature.
Yeah, classic is definitely the word for it. It's
So
like old and not all that great. So Wade has his God Mode powers back. Originally, Ben decided it would be an awesome idea to start the episode, leave for 16 minutes, and then come back and
I've
eat
finally
on the
gotten
mic.
you, and I'm so happy. So today we're going to be discussing The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. I've finally gotten you, and I'm so happy. I went and I looked for a list from worst to best. I've finally gotten you. H.P. Lovecraft stories. You're supposed to read Uzumaki.
Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Because I've got a lot to say about At the Mountains of Madness, which is what we're going to be covering this week.
We're covering part 3 of Dune. I've finally gotten you, and I'm so happy. I've finally gotten you, and I'm so happy. Finally gotten you, and finally gotten you.
Yeah, because you never did that before, did ya?
Well, I mean, I guess I got you with Twilight, too. This is in there with Twilight.
I like this better than Twilight, at least I can say that.
I don't know where you want to start. That I guess I could say one more bit of trivia about the movie. This may shock people, but Japan is like weirdly aggressive and incompetent when it comes to censorship.
Oh, I thought you were going to say when it comes to warfare, and I was like, yeah, that sounds
yeah,
about
I know.
right.
I'll throw you a bone and we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
but
we will. We were going to talk about whether or not you wanted to.
I was just going to ignore this. I wasn't even going to. I was going to go walk away and get a sandwich, but I'll pretend to talk to you. So when the film came out, they wanted to give it like a PG-13 or something. They don't have the same rating system, but the rough equivalent of a PG-13. And instead, it got closer to like an NC-17, which most theaters wouldn't show. And since the kids are supposed to be junior high school students, they wanted to target the marketing at junior high school students, which does seem irresponsible. Yeah, does seem irresponsible. So the Japanese parliament, the Diet, actually had a screening of the movie. And they were like, absolutely not. And in fact, the director had filed this appeal, and he was like, I want this lower rating. And they were like, actually, based on this film, we're thinking about introducing more legislation about what can go in movies.
We're going to make a new rating just for you.
The director withdrew his appeal so that they would not further censor film. But yeah, the subject matter of these kids violently murdering each other, and they're all, of course, wearing junior high school uniforms. If you know anything about Japan, they've got the sailor suits and the like high military collars.
Kept bringing it up. Why? Well, why is this still a thing? Is this not strange? Suits? Yeah.
That's just kind of the junior high uniform. It's like the Navy uniforms.
Like, guys, we get it. You used to have a Navy that used to do stuff, right? You used to have that, but where is it now? It's at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh! Who lives in a
aircraft carrier
under the sea?
The Japanese Navy of World War II.
Okay.
Because you woke a sleeping giant.
Oh my god. You're just gonna play the American theme every time you the American theme, the American national anthem. Jesus Christ!
I'm a quarter Japanese, so I can say this stuff.
I'm a quarter Japanese,
and my grandma passed away.
Your grandma's looking down from heaven, just blessing everything you're saying. I'm sure
she definitely never wanted to hear about what Japan did during the war.
How did they? Was your grandfather? I mean, I know your grandfather was a Marine, right? So
that grandfather was Army.
Oh, did he meet her while being stationed?
He was stationed there around the time of the Korean War, and that's when they met.
Okay. Your grandparents are a little younger than mine.
I don't know if that. How old's your grandmother?
96.
About the same age.
Oh, really?
Okay. 94, 95. How old would the Queen be if the Queen wasn't dead?
I don't care.
That's the age of my grandmother, except my grandmother was born a little earlier and outlived her. So, suck it, Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, no, bizarrely, I told this story on another podcast, but my grandfather was in World War II, and his plane was almost hit by a kamikaze attack. They shut it down at the last second.
Oh, wow.
He probably would not have supported my interest in the Japanese culture.
My Marine grandfather says he was in World War II, but really he was just in training. He was going to be in Operation Overlord, but then the war ended, so...
I don't know
got
which...
to fight in Korea instead.
I don't know which ship my grandfather was on. I could find out for you if you really care, but...
The Enterprise, I hope.
I know I don't think he had like a very glamorous position. I think he was just running messages across the ship.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like he won the war for us or anything, and he didn't act like he did. Yeah, okay, so the reason we're talking about World War II, do you want to just jump into it?
Yeah, sure. So, this is alternate reality Japan where they won, I guess, because they're the Greater East Asian co-prosperity sphere or whatever.
The premise is that Japan in 1999 or whenever this takes place is a like fascist dictatorship, and there's a little bit of inside baseball Japanese politics like being played that you might not get if you don't know. Like the subject matter of Battle Royale is heavily inspired by the student protests of the 60s and 70s in Japan, which they got pretty out of control. They were nationwide, like people died. And there has been a saying in Japan that like Japan's government has always kind of been like fascism with a smile, where it's not fascist, but like don't ever not do what the government says. That would be bad for you. And also, it's not like Germany where we had the Nuremberg trials. A lot of the people from the Imperial Japanese government just sort of slid into the post-war Japanese government. And
yep.
So this book is kind of taking shots at that, but it's also like a little too smart for the plot. It doesn't really do anything with it. It's just kind of like, I'm making a statement about fascism. Now that that's out of the way.
Yeah, there were some war criminals that maybe should have been hung at the end of this.
Hundreds, thousands.
Yeah, there may be, like a lot of high-ups who, there's a reason why China still doesn't like Japan. There's still strained relations.
There's a reason why Korea still doesn't like Japan, even though they're supposed to be on the same side against China.
Yeah.
We were invited. Punch was served.
Yeah, that's why Japan is... Is that why Japan is such great friends with us? Because no one likes them in their own geographic location?
Absolutely.
That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
Britain's part of that club, too. Oh, got him.
The other thing he takes a shot at is Japan's relationship with China, where Japan's whole line in World War II to the Asians who they were conquering was, it's going to be us or it's going to be the white people.
Yeah, we're going to eliminate Western influence.
Yeah, wouldn't you at least rather have another Asian ruling the region than
the answer is
white
no.
people?
Absolutely
the answer was
not.
We'd actually like to rule ourselves, thank you, please, get out.
Yeah, that would be the best option. Even if you had to choose between those two other options, though, like, the British were kind of a hands-off piece of shit, whereas the Japanese were kind of a so. I don't want to defend the British.
No, but
fuck them.
That does say something about the Imperial Japanese government that they made the British look humanitarian by comparison.
Yeah,
and so that's something to keep in mind. And the author does show he shows he has an awareness of this. He seems to come down on an anti-government, anti-fascist side, though he doesn't do anything with it. This is paper thin stuff. There's a throwaway line about how they're helping China out by making sure that the evil West doesn't come in and take China, and China just loves it, don't they? And the kids in the class are kind of like doubting that's the case, and So
Yeah,
there are two major
with good reason.
there are two major powers in the Battle Royale alternate future. There's the East Asia conglomerate or whatever, headed by Japan, presuming. Now, this is how I took it. There's an American empire and there's a Japanese East Asian conglomerate. And so I viewed it as the Allies beat Germany, but they didn't beat Japan. Japan just hung on to China and Korea.
Yep.
And they kept going.
That's
almost.
exactly what would have happened. Yep.
So this does negate the fact that the USSR was a thing and that they were pretty good at what they did.
Or that the Japanese couldn't even beat China or Burma.
And that the Japanese
they were at a standstill before they started fighting the U.S.
had run literally out of gas, not figuratively, literally out of gas. From a series of like incredibly poor decision makings because the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing in the Japanese government.
Yep.
I'm willing to accept that we can just yada yada that they somehow won. Nate, you cannot abide this. You need everybody to know.
It's so dumb. It's so,
you hate alternate histories. This is your kryptonite.
Alternate histories, like, it's either you have to make so few changes that's like, I mean, why even bother? Or it's like, you have to go ham and like, the Japanese won World War II because Mecha Godzilla came back in time, and like you have to make it just so implausible that's like, okay,
just imagine
it's magic
Japan,
fake bullshit.
Just imagine that Japan
sailed
the Grand Line and they found an island that was made of coal and another island that was made of oil and another island that was made of iron.
It was made of ships.
Yeah, and they just were able to
ships full of pilots and crew ready to go.
Yeah, another island had just another extra 10 million people fully trained and ready to go. They were there. I agree. Obviously that Japan was never going to win World War II, and I gotta think in their wildest dreams they probably weren't even trying to.
No, their plan was to make it as costly as possible for the U.S. to get them, and then they would hopefully sue for peace to hold on to all the stuff they took, which isn't how revenge mentality works.
Yeah,
right?
Well, they also really
you bombed Pearl Harbor, we're gonna get
they
you.
really counted on the Pearl Harbor thing doing a lot more than it did.
Yeah,
Pearl Harbor was like, as bad as it was an absolute failure for the Japanese.
Yeah, they failed to hit the fuel depot. They didn't get any of the carriers. Yeah.
Or did they find out? And everybody underestimated the importance of the carrier.
Yeah, until it was too late for them.
But this isn't a World War II podcast.
I saw this documentary,
Oh, God.
Ben. All right, let me just highlight the industrial capacity, okay?
The industrial capacity.
I saw this long World War II documentary, and it's talking about Midway in 1942. It's like the U.S. has, I think it was 3 carriers. I think one of them was a light carrier. And Japan had, I think, 6 carriers, 4 of which were at Midway that we blew up at the cost of only one of our own. And it was like, wow, that was a devastating loss. Like, the Japanese never regained the initiative. And then, later in the documentary, it's like, there was a battle in battle in air quotes in like 1944 or 45 where they're like, and the Americans sent like 8 carriers, and I was like, whoa, hold on, what? We were just churning out carrier after carrier after carrier. We had new entire fleets of craft just sailing across the Pacific like it was nothing. And Japan was like, maybe this battleship, the largest battleship ever, the Yamato, that's gonna save it. Oh, it just got hit by like 400 bombs and it's going
So
down.
I take it you're not a fan of the space battleship Yamato series?
No, what is that?
Oh, you gotta watch. We'll Google that later. Everybody go ahead and Google space battleship Yamato, and then remember it's a relic of their essentially Nazi past.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine Germany making shows like that. I love Japan. I love the culture. I love the language. But yeah, World War II is
Yeah, Germany, that's illegal in Germany.
World War II is something
you try and make a
Japan-
show like that, you're...
yeah. Japan never really
World War
handled
II
this.
is... They just kind of swept it under the rug. I think I saw a source that said that until, like, the 80s, they didn't teach kids in school that the U.S. and Japan went to war. And I think it was like another decade before they even said that Japan lost that war.
It's we're all cool.
It's like-
we're all cool now. Look at us, Japan. Your old buddy, kawaii desu ne? Yeah, that's what we do. Hello Kitty, headphones, Sony,
Yeah,
Nintendo.
the Hello Kitty designed to look vulnerable, and like we were the victims of the atomic bomb. It's like, yeah,
We are not having the atomic bomb conversation on the Battle Royale episode. This book is not smart enough for this conversation. It's not worth it. The thing you need to
gosh.
know is that there is the justification. So like in the Hunger Games, they have the Hunger Games to punish these districts or whatever. I haven't read it. In Battle Royale,
yeah, we're gonna have to read that now, motherfucker.
we can read that if you
the floodgate.
I'm
we're
fine
gonna
with that.
We're gonna
We'll read it. Okay.
Yeah, good.
In Battle Royale, the game is held. In the book, it is held for like strategic research purposes, which doesn't make
It's the dumbest fucking
It doesn't
shit
make any
ever.
sense.
Because they take 50 classes per year. You know how many kids of your own empire that you are killing? You know how many parents who are losing their children who are not going to like you or the government?
I don't have a hard time believing that a government could get away with this for no other reason than they thought it was funny. I don't have a hard time believing that.
I have a hard time believing there's not open rebellions all the time.
Just because of what? Like a couple... Nathaniel, how many kids are dying in schools in America right now?
Yeah, but congressmen aren't the one walking into those schools and shooting everyone.
No, but like they could do anything about it, and instead they're like another sacrifice for the firearms industry.
Did you know that Jesus and Moses used guns to conquer the Romans?
They died proud Americans, didn't they? I mean, it does not strain my faith in humanity at all to think that if
No, but the dumb thing is, all right, here's the moral, Ben.
Okay.
The paper thin moral, as you said. People won't rise up against the government because they're always going to be afraid that your friend might turn on you. And it's like, there's a thing called a common enemy, where like people who maybe don't like each other at all, like let's say Joseph Stalin and Harry Truman. I don't know why those two people are popping in my head right now. It's weird. But like, they would put aside their differences long enough to beat up on a third person who they both hate.
I don't know what his name could be.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what his name could be either. That's just a completely hypothetical. Like, I don't know where I got those names from either. I think those might be like historical figures, maybe. I don't know.
I think
but
Koushun Takami generally has some like anarcho-punk kind of leanings, but he doesn't really know why or where he's going with it, because
I can agree with that.
there's no the point of Battle Royale is to have children fight each other to the death, because he thought that would just be like, he spends so much time cultivating these believable high school relationships, these dynamics between the students, the jock, the pretty girl, the girl from the wrong side of the tracks, the academic, the guy who was going to go to Harvard or whatever, or Tokyo University in this case. Like, he builds the stereotypes. He tells you all about like, this person's friends with this person has a crush on this person, and then they kill each other with an axe. And it's like, it's just exploitation. It's supposed to be horror.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be just this big spectacle. And then at the end, so that he doesn't just get absolutely obliterated by the censorship board, he's like, but
There's a lesson in here, I promise.
but if only they could have trusted each other, they still probably would have died because the way I structured the game. but but that would have been something.
Yup. You sure would have been.
So you want to talk about?
Wow, we are like 30 minutes into
Do you want
this?
to talk
That's
about what the game
impressive.
is?
Yeah, Ben, it's Fortnite.
It's
You kidnap children in a class, one of 50 classes. That apparently, like, class sizes have exploded, bro. Like 40 kids, Jesus Christ.
so in Japan.
And they gas you, and then they drive you to a place, or in this case, I guess they flew them because it's an island, and they're like, hey, I'm going to calmly explain that you're all going to murder each other. I'm also going to casually explain that I did some sex crimes on someone, and I have a note that says that, hey, guess what, Ben? This book fucking sucks. That was a note I made when he said that. And we're gonna give you a pack with, like, food and water and a randomized weapon, and you're gonna leave the school and go out and start killing. And one by one, you'll leave in, like, I don't know, 5-minute intervals. Doesn't matter. You're gonna leave, and you're gonna fight for survival and kill each other until there's only one person standing. And if you don't do that, or if you go in a forbidden zone, because we're gonna slowly shrink the match because it's Fortnite, remember, you will explode. There's a collar around your neck. It will blow you up like the Suicide Squad, and you will be super dead. Okay, good luck. Oh yeah, and the government loves you. If you win, you get set for life and a signed autographed, I don't know, baseball card or something of the Emperor and how much he loves you.
That's essentially it. Do you want to talk about how that initial conversation goes? We lose a kid right off the bat.
The main character, his friend. Do you remember his friend's name, Ben? This is another thing I had in the book. They decided to list every student.
Yoshitoki.
And okay, yeah, very good. Do you remember? Let me just randomly find someone.
Do I remember like girl number 33? No, I mean I remember the main characters. I remember Shuya is the main character, Shuya Nanahara. And then there is Noriko, who he teams up with. She's kind of the love interest, who he has to protect. Then there's Shogo.
Yeah, she gets injured.
Yep, she gets injured, and so Shuya has to protect her. She was also his best friend's crush, the best friend who died in the opening scene. And there's Shogo Kawada, who is absurdly, like, just picture John Rambo sitting in a junior high school classroom. That's Shogo Kawada.
Picture the guy who has the worst fucking luck in the world.
Yeah.
Picture a guy who gets selected for this game a second year in a row.
So Shogo,
he won and was like, I'm done with that. I never have to do that again. And then he's kidnapped for round 2.
Yeah. He does have the worst luck in the world, but he's also very scarred. He's got 5 o'clock shadow. He smokes cigarettes, and he's supposed to be like in there with 14-year-olds. He's also like a foot taller than everybody. So
yeah, he's Steve Buscemi. Hello, fellow kids.
So Shogo Kawada winds up being like the thief with the heart of gold. Everybody thinks he's this thug because of his appearance, but in actuality, he's this like complicated, sensitive dude who's gonna help Shuya and Noriko survive this challenge. Then there's Shinji Mamura, who is like a hacker tech genius, and he's got an uncle who's in like the resistance, who's anti-government, who's like a terrorist, who feeds him all this information. So like he's got to be cooking up something, right? And then who else strikes me as like a main character? Kazuo. What's Kazuo's name?
Kiriyama.
Okay, I was like, is that this or is that an anime? I can't remember. So So Kazuo.
It does sound like an anime.
Well,
right?
there's a lot of tropes of Japanese media because Kazuo Kiriyama is like the tough, the street tough of like the 1990s anime and like Japanese school, where they got like the pompadour and the grease
He's
back
got
hair.
slick back
Yeah.
hair. Yeah, he made me think of the JoJo with the ridiculous hair every time I heard.
He made
about
me
it.
think of like you know Yu Yu Hakusho. You've mentioned the Dark Tournament arc that nobody remembers.
Yeah, it's a great show.
A mulberry is a tree, Kuwabara is a man.
Yeah, so like
I mean, it's hard to watch now, but like it was great at the time.
imagine like not
you just
Yusuke and
have to roll with it.
Yusuke and Kuwabara, but like the guys that Yusuke and Kuwabara beat up, like the bad guys. He's one of them. So Kazuo Kiriyama is a very Japanese
But
villain.
he's also refined.
Yeah. So in
He's
Japan,
he's like a rich family,
Yeah.
and he mastered the violin, and he was the best at it, and then he just threw it in the garbage because he was done with that. It no longer amused him. And he had a little gang. He beat up like 4 people in his flashback introduction, where he effortlessly beat up people who were probably larger than him and like 1 or 2 years older.
I think they were 3 years older.
Because they interrupted his art.
Yeah. When he was in
sculpting or some
to
shit.
put it in perspective, when he was essentially 12, he beat up 4 15-year-olds. And so in Japan, in Japanese media, there's a greater emphasis on stats, I feel, than American media, and this could be a whole separate podcast, and I don't want to get into it.
Oh my god. This is the pacing here is just like the book itself.
That's our goal here on Words About Books. Like
Yeah.
Kazuo Kiriyama.
I'm going to front load you with a bunch of information, and you're not going to care about most of it. Your eyes are going to glaze over, and then we're just going to start murdering people left and right.
Which I think is fantastic. So, Kazuo Kiriyama, like the thing you got to know, in American media, we would probably have somebody like him be like an evil genius. Like he's smart, but he never lived up to his potential. His teachers know he could get good grades. He breezes through the test, but like he doesn't because he doesn't care. In this, he does get good grades because why wouldn't he? Because that's what you're supposed to do. Because how else will people know you're cool unless you get good grades? You need authoritative approval to be smart. That's just a weird quirk of Japanese media I've noticed in a life of consuming it. So that's Kazuo Kiriyama. Also, sociopath. Total psycho. He feels nothing. I think literally...
Because he has very specific brain damage from utero.
I have a very specific set of brain damage.
Very specific, yeah. It's like a car accident with his mom, and like something went into his developing brain at a very specific location, so he can't feel emotions ever.
Yes. So he
flips a coin to determine, am I going to overthrow the government with my gang, or am I just going to kill everyone?
Heads, you live. Tails, you die.
It lands on kill everyone and play the game. And he gruesomely murders his most loyal flunkies and a girl who I think was into him, but he didn't really care. So that's like 5 people dead right there.
He killed a lot of people.
He kills a lot of people. But in the opening scene, he kills his gang, and there's one girl with him that he kills. And then I would also count Mitsuo as a main character, I believe is her name. She's
is this Mitsuko?
Mitsuko. Sorry, yes. Mitsuko. Yeah. She's the one that's like from the wrong side of the tracks, prostitution stuff.
She's the Kiriyama of the women's side, where she's
but she's
stone cold.
She's not like stone cold. She's more like just survivor. She doesn't care. She's surviving this.
Yeah,
she has learned from
uses every manipulation that she can, including using her looks to catch people off guard and eliminate them. And I think she probably has the second highest body count. She can cry on command.
Just like Jeanette McCurdy.
It catches this one girl off guard, and then bam, sickle to the face. or the back of the head, whatever.
Yeah. I love the weapons they get. I don't remember what Kazuo's was. Shogo has a shotgun.
Well, he killed everyone and took all their
Yeah.
weapons, so he gets a pistol and kills a guy and takes his machine gun that sounds like a typewriter, and he says that a lot. This is a little typewriter. Ga, 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 ga.
Taka, taka,
It
taka.
looks like he was assigned a knife at the beginning, but he quickly changed that out for 2 different guns at least.
Also, for this is just another little detail that kind of proves to you how paper thin the America-Japan Cold War in this universe is. Like Shuya eventually starts carrying around a Smith & Wesson. A decent number of the weapons are either American or Russian made, because a decent number of weapons are either American or Russian made.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I don't know what weapons Japan is mass producing anymore.
Yeah. So
I don't think he had any real life, like, he probably could have just made some stuff up, but that world building wasn't on his mind.
yeah, the Toshiba M14, that just throw it out there.
Yeah.
The Subaru.
The Sony. I guess if you start, you have to make up names though. You don't want to get sued by all these companies for you're saying I made a product that murders children.
Just a little detail I noticed when I was going over it again for this podcast. I was like, Smith & Wesson, why would they give him that?
Because most people don't notice that, Ben. Most people aren't even thinking about that. They're just like, oh yeah, Smith & Wesson, whatever. Get back to
he obviously just looked up
the
guns. He just looked up what some guns are.
Yes.
And he found the Smith & Wesson, the AK-47,
I would not be surprised one bit if it was like I looked up how people were going to die gruesomely, and then I wrote a book on how that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I want someone to be remove part of his head with a weapon. How can I make that happen? All right. I'm going to write that scene, and then we'll stitch it together with the novel.
The novel is just how the Star Wars novels are just like going to a place to get a thing, to do a thing, to go to a place to get a thing. Battle Royale is like that, but it's like walking down a hill to kill a guy with an axe, to get shot at by another guy, to get injured, and then wake up in a room full of girls who eventually poison each other because of their paranoia. And then, it's just
It's a game of Ultimate Werewolf, but for keeps.
For keeps. So that's sort of the game. Those are our main characters. Is there another main character you think I've missed?
The third man was kind of a main
Shinji
character.
Mamura.
And then he dies, and you're like, oh.
Is one I already named.
Maybe I'm supposed to think that that's gonna go somewhere, and then
it's the false
it
hope.
didn't.
It's meant to you're meant to be connected to this. You want the kids to get
There's
out.
also Hiroki's
Hiroki's a good one.
Tsujimura.
Hiroki's a good one. He's the martial artist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the martial artist with the heart of gold.
Yeah, you like Hiroki. He's one of the few not crazy people. So the thing here is Japanese school systems
you have to
a little
build
different.
up a bunch of stars.
Yeah,
you know?
well-
You got to build up who's the Hulk Hogan, who's the Davy Boy Smith, who's the Ultimate Warrior, who's the Macho Man, and who are like the bushwhackers. Who's the Dino Bravo in this battle royale? Let's throw them over the top rope by someone who matters, and we're gonna establish them.
And Rick Martel eliminated by the Warrior. And look at this. Look at this.
My God,
Hulk Hogan and the Warrior.
there is not a person sitting down. Everyone on his feet.
For me, I know the book starts with a big wrestling analogy.
Yeah, because that's where it came from.
I don't feel like
I didn't even realize that's where it came from until I saw the beginning.
So I have another about the author thing I can tie into that. That is,
Oh my god.
he came up with the idea of a bunch of students killing each other first because he's a well-adjusted man. And
Okay.
he was telling his friends, as you do. I was thinking about that time in junior high where I wanted to kill all of you. I mean, what if I wanted to kill all of you? And
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
So like, what if?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that gets you put away here.
What if
if the police could be bothered to do something?
Oh boy, you should look up Japanese serial killers. They are fucked up. Anywho, he's talking to his friends, right? And he's like, so I'm going to have this kid kill this kid, and I'm going to have like, this kid kill a bunch of kids, and there's like going to be like,
and then the kid who
couple of stars
who seems a lot like me, he's gonna be awesome, and he's gonna win the day.
And then the kid who's like you, my heterosexual life partner Shogo Kawada, he's going to protect me and hold me at night, and so he starts talking to his friends about this, and his friends are telling him like, dude, this sounds like a Battle Royale wrestling match. And that's where the name comes from. And so that's where his friends are credited with comparing it to a wrestling match. I thought it was just a weird man's murder fantasy. But I guess
it would be better
if
it were called Battle Royale instead of Fantasy Child Killing Simulator.
Instead of Fantasy Island. So yeah, that's a little fun wrestling thing. I didn't get any wrestling themes in this at all. It didn't seem like wrestling battle royales at all to me, but I don't watch any of them.
You're throwing people over the top rope.
Do you, as a wrestling person, see wrestling comparisons in this book?
Kind of. Like I said, you're establishing who the important people are by having them eliminate the less important people.
Mm-hmm.
And you're giving them all little tiny stories before you throw them over the top rope, aka murder them as well.
My problem.
And sometimes in wrestling you have people forming groups, and for some reason during battle royales, most of the time those groups fall apart because usually the groups are full of bad guys, and the bad guys have to be fucking idiots. Yeah, they're like, we're gonna team up, we're gonna stick together until the very end. And then when his back is turned, they like throw him over real quick. And sometimes that doesn't work, and they get thrown over instead. But it's like you could have just gone to the end. I don't know.
I didn't get the wrestling analogy. Like, I got the wrestling analogy, but like my focus is like, how in God's name could anyone survive this competition? Because the deck is like, okay, one person is going to survive, sure, yeah. But like the whole time, the group of kids is like all the good guys you would consider in a wrestling match are trying to figure out a way to avoid participating in the game and trying to escape. That's not the point of a battle royale match.
No.
You
want to win the battle royale.
Right. So it's not about like lifting up one good guy to be the winner, and that would somehow like save the other good guys, which would make it like a battle royale.
Maybe they should do that.
Yeah. And they have done that.
If one of these characters win, all the other characters come back to life.
You're describing the Tournament of Power in Dragon Ball Super. But
oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, that's comparable to a wrestling match. This is like supposed to, like, how the hell are they going to escape? How can Shogo, Noriko, and Shuya survive? How? Because you can't get the call. If you tamper with the collar, it explodes. If you're in a zone after the time, it explodes. So eventually, all the territory is going to be eliminated, like in Fortnite, and you're gonna die if you don't fight.
Yeah, where's Ninja in all of this?
Where's Ninja? Yeah, he'd just dominate. Ninja'd murder all these children.
Yeah. Oh.
So that was my thing. Like, again, everything about it's like a battle royal wrestling match. That's what it's inspired. No, it's not. You just wanted to come up with. You thought of gonna have these kids kill each other first, and then you worked backwards to find anything that was even remotely plausible to get it going. I am certain. I've never read The Hunger Games. I don't know shit about it. I am certain the Hunger Games setup is 10 times better than the Battle
Yes.
Royale setup.
Yep, I will give you that one. And the Hunger Games did it better too because there's only 24.
That is probably a good choice.
Yeah, 40 was way too much. Holy shit. Wait, were there 40? There were more
There
than
were more
40,
than 40.
weren't
I think
there?
there were 45.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, like
There are way too many kids to keep track of.
he just wanted
man.
to describe gory deaths that
Yup.
seemed like people you could know from school.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was about. And I'm telling
There
you,
sure are a lot of people in this 14 to 15-year-old class. Is that how old they are?
they would be,
Ben?
yeah,
Right
they would
on
be
that?
ninth grade in America.
Yeah, there are a lot of ninth graders in this one class who have had sex before or are part of gangs.
Yeah. So one of the things they change, in my opinion, for the better in the movie is the student protests in Japan really rocked their society. Japan, as they have been stereotyped, is a country where etiquette matters quite a bit. And like an example of that is the language doesn't really have that many curse words. If you want to insult somebody like that, you do that by using disrespectful or like impolite terminology. You would talk down to a superior. You would use the wrong etiquette, or you would use higher etiquette sarcastically. So it's like, it's not like America where teachers go into school every day and have kids, saying, fuck you. That doesn't happen as much. You just get kicked the fuck out. So
I'm okay with that happening less. Actually,
yeah, it would be good to have it happen less, but there are some negatives, like the highest teen suicide rate in the world in Japan. And so in the movie,
No, I'm not going to say what I'm going to say.
in the movie, the Battle Royale is a punishment to young people for
That is much better.
those
I
kinds
do
of
remember
protests.
that. Again, the movie's better.
Yeah, I think the movie's better. I think Takeshi could.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you to admit it.
Oh, yeah!
It's a better story, but like also Takeshi Kitano hams it up so much. Like you remember when he gets shot, and then he just sits up.
Yeah, he sits up. I think he answers the phone, gets shot some more.
He answers the phone, and it's his kid telling him what a bastard he is, and he's like, "Well, then fuck you too," and hangs up. I love that man. I love everything he does. I cannot say enough how like there's just nothing here. It's just splatter and
you
gore.
can see that in the fact that it's been an hour and we haven't even done any sort of summary. Do we want to do any sort of summary? How do you do a summary?
The
Ben?
only way you do a summary is to do exactly what the book did, where you just, this guy died this way, this girl died this way, this person killed this person. Like, it's just a list. It's just a series of gruesome scenes. And this is where I said,
Yeah.
we talked about like how far is too far. This book is so far. It's like, it's off the map. How violent and inappropriate it is. And if it were written by somebody like Grady Hendrix, who could write, who could do better, I would be like,
Yeah,
I would be like, this is bad. But because it's just so fucking weird, there's something about it that just draws me to it.
Yeah, I think I made it like a solid 3 or like 2.5, somewhere in that range.
I don't know, like,
What do we want to talk about from the plot, Ben?
basically, I don't know. I mean, I kind of could. Well, I'm talking to you. This is.
We could just do.
I'm talking
do
to
the
I'm talking to
highlights
you.
of-
This isn't the podcast. because I think like first half hour we talk about our favorite scenes, second half hour we talk about like just pretend that there is anything of value in this book, and the thing of value is like, what would you do? Like, we're trying to say something about humanity and how fragile society is when all of a sudden the police aren't there to protect you anymore, and everything's just pulled out from under you. What kind of animal would you become? Are you a predator or are you a prey?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
So I don't know how much of that you can use as the transition. Do you want me to do like another transition?
Nah, I can do a transition probably.
Okay, so we'll say just, we're wrapping up there. This is the pregame show, and then next week we're gonna fight. We're gonna see like which of the kids we thought was awesome, which of the kids we thought sucked, and then what we would do if we, and I'm gonna say like us in our current state.
Yeah, no, high school me would die immediately.
High school me would fare so much better than 2 shoulder surgeries, like 100 pounds overweight. Modern Ben would do.
Yeah, no, I was I did not have a whole lot of friends, so.
Oh, you're fucked.
Yeah, I'm fucked. Yeah, I'm that guy that's on the roof with the crossbow. I get 1 kill and then I get immediately taken out.
Well, we'll save this for next episode.
If even that.
Like, if my choice of podcast host is any indication, like, I had friends, but I know every friend I have ever had would kill me in this situation.
And now you've got your friend.
You 100% would kill me. You would try. I could. Yeah, I believe I could rely on you until like there's 5 people left. Like, we'd make the deal that like it's just.
Yeah, I was gonna say final 5.
Yeah, we'd make the deal that it's gonna be us 2. But then like as it gets down to like final 5, we'd be looking at each other like, when's he gonna do it? Because you're not waiting for final 2. I know you're not waiting for final 2, and I'm not waiting for final 2.
Yeah, let's talk about that next time. I've got some thoughts on that too. Now that I'm thinking about it, because like, what do we do, Ben? What if it's final 3 and the other guy's fucking Kiriyama, who's just jacked to the gills with guns and shit? Like, neither of us are winning on our own, but also like, I don't know if either of us want to wait to find out.
I think one of us is going to have to run point and try to distract him, and I think it should be you. Okay, we'll save it. Table it.
All right. Hey, Ben asked me to do the end of the episode shout-outs, and then I realized that I don't even know what those are anymore. Do we have a Twitter? I don't know. Did Elon Musk try to go see the Titanic and die in an implosion? Is it too soon to talk about that? It probably is. Where can you find Spooky Shy? Do I have to spell Spooky Shy's name every single time? Does John even Bierce anymore? I don't know. So instead, I'm just going to do something creative. You ready for this? Here it goes.
One of the other stuffs we do is I give shout-outs to people who contribute, quite frankly, too much money to our Patreon. And those people are Isekai Sensei-sama of, here we go, That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster podcast. Also can be found at animepodcasterreincarnation.com. Jamie, Gravy Man, of the If You Want the Gravy blog, where he reviews movies. Movies such as Knock at the Cabin, I guess. I don't know what the M. Night Shyamalan movie was called, but he reviewed that one we did last week. And we got Spooky Shy. Shy with a Y on TikTok, spelled C-H-Y. We also have, last but not least, and I always say that, and I always save him for last because it's the most dramatic reveal of the entire podcast, John Bierce. John Bierce is an actual author who is most famous for his series of fantasy novels, called Mage Errant. John has also written The Rack. We have covered both of those on the podcast, and John has even been on the podcast. You can check out his books. You can also check out his Patreon, where he posts short stories. You can vote on which short story he will post if you are a patron. I don't think I have anything else to say.
All right, Ben,
Dave-
do you remember who Sean Spears is?
Um,
That's what I fucking thought, Ben.
now wait. Okay, can I pause it now?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember who Sean Spears is,
Oh my god.
but I would remember his pants if I saw them. Everybody had such colorful, I don't know what to say other than like butt decoration. Like when I was into wrestling as a wee lad, I do not remember everyone's ass being so flamboyantly bejazzled. It's just everybody is wearing like hot pink booty shorts and
that was Sean